Joe Biden's catastrophic lies have been exposed, thanks to his wayward son, Hunter Biden. The US president has dug himself into a deep legal hole, trying to cover up the corrupt behaviour of himself and his son. The mainstream media have always helped the Bidens distract from these damaging claims, but with an election looming, this could spell the end of President Joe Biden's political career. Sky News All Stars James Morrow, Cory, Bernardi and Kristin Tate expose the web of lies, mistruths and corruption and ask, is time finally up for Joe Biden? Joe Biden has managed to distract the American people and the media from his lifetime of dodgy dealings for the entirety of his presidency. But since his son Hunter has been added to the mix, the sins of the family have become impossible to ignore.
The latest allegations from Hunter Biden in Congress today, his former business partner, Devon Archer, has admitted that Hunter was selling the illusion of access to his father in business dealings in the Ukraine. There's also been allegations that he was interfering in Ukraine's internal affairs. Kosha, pretty serious allegations. I want to get your take on them and how they're playing out in the Congress. But also, is this starting to take some bark off the president's run for 2024?
I think it is a little bit. So it's very serious stuff, and there's 2 or 3 lanes actually converging. It's not just a one-off, and it's important to look at them in totality. So there's these eyewitness testimonies, Devon Archer today testifying in front of Congress. There was Tony Bobolinsky in 2020, and there's a couple other characters who've been making these allegations. There was the infamous laptop from hell that had a lot of incriminating evidence on it from guns and drugs and prostitution and things of that nature. And then there were the 2 IRS whistleblowers, which was a big story a couple of weeks ago, alleging financial crimes that no taxes were paid on millions and millions of dollars. So you put all of that, these lanes are converging. And the important thing in terms of why it matters is it's not just Hunter Biden, but in all of them, the connective tissue is potentially, allegedly, Joe Biden. And he was a central piece in everything, why Hunter Biden gets let off, why he was getting these deals, these very rich, fancy board seats, et cetera. And that has material impact in terms of the trust that the public places on what's happening. And it also just showcases this 2-tier justice system that's been a big discussion point, that he's getting let off with a couple of misdemeanors for crimes that many people would commit. We all know what would happen if we didn't pay our taxes, and the people see that. So I think it is starting to take the bark off a little bit for 2024.
Hunter Biden's court appearances have forced Joe Biden into the spotlight and exposed his lie that he never spoke to his son about overseas business dealings.
You're selling access, you're selling influence. That's the Biden family business, and it's been that way for 4 decades.
Well, it has finally happened. One of Hunter Biden's former business partners has sat for a 4-hour interview with the House Oversight Committee. Devon Archer, a former business associate of Hunter Biden's, has made multiple bombshell accusations against the president. He sat for an hours-long interview with the House Oversight Committee to reveal that, yes, Joe Biden could have known about his son's overseas business deals because he was contacted multiple times. Throughout the 2020 presidential campaign to now, the president has always maintained he has never spoken to his son about his overseas business deals, he wasn't involved himself, and that no one in his family has ever pocketed money from China. This declaration has been called into question many times, and today is no different. Because Devon Archer, who has his own string of scandals and is about to be jailed for 1 year for bond fraud, has claimed Joe Biden either joined meetings in person or over the phone 20 times. Hunter Biden sat on the board of Ukrainian gas company Burisma Holdings from 2014 to 2019, where Devon Archer was also a board member. Burisma Holdings has been at the height of headlines over whether the president's son was involved in a conflict of interest and influence peddling scheme, while his father served as the vice president under the Obama administration. While the transcript of the 4-hour interview has not been made public yet, Chairman James Comer has released the key takeaways from it. He opened that Joe Biden lied to the American people when he claimed to have no knowledge of his son's business deals, elaborating that the now president was the brand that his son sold around the world to enrich the Biden family.
In addition, it's also been revealed by Sky News All-Star Kristin Tate that Hunter Biden and his associates called his father multiple times during business meetings, once again contradicting the president's claims that he had nothing to do with his son's deals.
Yeah, I mean, the story has continuously changed. First it was, oh, well, Hunter made no money overseas. There's nothing to see here. Then it was, well, maybe he had some dealings here and there, but Joe Biden certainly wasn't aware of it. Then the story changed to, well, maybe Joe Biden was aware of some of these business deals, but don't worry, he wasn't involved at all. Then last week we find out not only was Joe Biden aware of Hunter Biden's business dealings with counterparts overseas, but he was actually on 20 phone calls with Hunter Biden's associates over the years. So this is just looking really bad. The corruption stories continue to get worse and worse.
Joe Biden's claim that no one in his family has ever received money from China was found to be a lie during Hunter's courtroom appearance.
While Hunter Biden's ties to CEFC and money he received from the company has been reported before, especially through his laptop, declaring it under oath in a courtroom is different. It's also a direct contradiction to what Joe Biden has maintained, that no one in his family has received money from China. Here the president is campaigning for the 2020 presidential election against Donald Trump.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had it. The only guy who made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant.
Online users responded to the fact that video is now making the rounds. One person wrote, "Liar, this traitor, his corrupt family and degenerate son have taken millions peddling influence, policy fixing and laundering money for foreign countries. The Bidens are all liars. Finally, Joe Biden is a serial liar."
And Sky News All-Star James Morrow has also revealed that it wasn't only China that the Bidens were profiting off. A confidential witness statement from the FBI shed light on a multi-million-dollar bribery scheme involving Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Ukrainian energy firm Burisma.
The chances that the Biden presidency could break down in scandal got a little higher this week with the release of a confidential witness statement from the FBI, shedding further light on what appears to have been a multi-million-dollar bribery scheme involving Joe, the first fail son Hunter, and that Ukrainian oil and gas concern Burisma. Burisma, the company that somehow decided Hunter was just the man they needed when it came to knowing about exploring for natural resources. Who knows? Maybe they heard he was good at drilling.
And all of this has only come out because of Hunter's trial under oath in a court of law. The media and federal agencies have been complicit in covering up the Biden family lies and corruption, says Sky News All-Star Cory Bernardi.
Much of the worst of Biden's disablement and his dodginess were covered up by a crooked media and many dishonest Democrats. We now know that the US law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and the Department of Justice, were also involved in a deception.
But Kristin Tate says the media is finally starting to dig deeper into this scandal.
The real news here is that for the first time, I'm noticing the media actually starting to cover this corruption with some vigor and interest. It is really fascinating to watch. Outlets like the New York Times and the Washington Post are actually really reporting on Hunter Biden's corruption, his business dealings, in a way that they really weren't before. And that tells me that maybe you were onto something, Chris, when you said that Joe Biden is not going to be the nominee. I see the insiders turning on Joe Biden. They're terrified every time he opens his mouth to speak. They think he's too old to get through this campaign season. So I am starting to wonder if he is being pushed out so that they can get him out of there and get Gavin Newsom as their nominee. I'm wondering if that's what's going on.
And in light of these damning corruption revelations, many have called for the impeachment of Joe Biden.
The more of this continues to unravel, it rises to the level of impeachment inquiry. What that simply provides is that the American public has a right to know, and this allows Congress to get the information to be able to know the truth.